hey, something really cool has happened, and it was a discovery of an amethyst seal in Jerusalem, and what it depicts is the Balm of Gilead. It has a branch and a bird etched on it. And I wrote about this in my second book. I was working on it, and before I left Mom's house, that is. And in my first book, I had a picture given to me by my sister of a persimmon tree, and it's not the exact same plant, but there's different versions of the tree, just like there's different types of cherry trees and you know, many other types of trees that have more than one variety. But what's interesting is that when I wrote my book, I put a picture of a persimmon tree in the place where I talked about the Garden of Eden, and my sister provided that, and I had written about it for the second book, but I never got to finish the second book because of Mom dying and then leaving our home and all of that. So I was really excited that they found this, and of course we know that this farmer in Israel has rediscovered the actual plant that was used for this perfume for the temple. So let me just tell you this story real quick. It was in timesofisrael.com, titled "Plant Used in Cleopatra's Scent, Temple Rite Found on Ancient Jerusalem Seal." Now, they used to have a bunch of these trees in the Jericho region, and the trees were growing there, and they used to farm the orchards, and people would come far and wide in the ancient times to get this fruit of this tree. Now, when I wrote about what I wrote about, I thought that it was the persimmon, and that was before finding out just today a verification that this is a type of persimmon, not the orange fruit kind, but it's a different plant. It says, an amethyst seal engraved with what is thought to be the earliest depiction of a plant used for the incense in the Second Temple and for perfume by Cleopatra has been found in Jerusalem. The 2,000-year-old amethyst seal, which was designed to be worn as a ring, has an engraving of a bird next to a branch of what appears to be the expensive biblical persimmon used to make the fragrance. The seal depicting the plant known variously as biblical persimmon, bosom or balsam, or even the balm of Gilead was discovered at the foundation stones of the western wall, according to a statement released on Thursday. According to the Israel Antiquities Authority, the biblical persimmon plant is unrelated to the modern-day fruit. It was used at the time of the Second Temple as an ingredient to produce the temple incense, perfume, and other balms and medicines. So I'm not sure if that means it's in a different species or family, or if it's just another variety, since it says that it's unrelated to the orange fruit. First-century Jewish historian Josephus Flavius wrote that Mark Antony gave Cleopatra received valuable persimmon groves that formerly belonged to King Herod. Scholars believe that this was so she could have an unlimited supply of the expensive balm extracted from the plant. Some experts believe the plant was given to King Solomon by the Queen of Sheba, the IAA said. And then they show the picture of it, and it says 2,000-year-old amethyst seal found in excavation near the western wall. And this was by Eliyahu Yanai, City of David. That's who the photo credit goes to. Researchers Eli Shukron, Professor Shua Amarai Stark, and Malka Hershkovitz said in a statement that the seal depicts a bird, probably a dove, and a thick branch with 5 fruits on it, which they believe to be the persimmon plant. This is an important find because it may be the first time a seal has been discovered in the entire world with an engraving of the precious and famous plant, which until now we could only read about in historical descriptions, said Shukran, who carried out the excavation where the seal was found at the foundations of the Western Wall on behalf of the IAA and the City of David. Shukran added that the balsam plant was attributed magically in ceremonial properties, which is why it was used as an ingredient for the temple incense around the time that the seal was made. Amory Stark said the stamps have been previously found with engravings of plants, but this was the first time one was found depicting a branch laden with fruit, leading them to hypothesize that it was the biblical persimmon. Towards the end of the Second Temple period, the use of stone stamps expanded and became more common, but in most stamps discovered so far with plant engravings, it is common to find plants that were common in Israel at the time, vines, dates, and olives, which are among the 7 species. But on this stone seal, we immediately notice that the fruit that appears on it is unlike any of the fruits we have encountered to date, said Amory Stark. So Eli Shukran gave the tour and showed exactly from the City of David. On their Twitter feed, they showed the place where he found it, and he's talking about it. So I'd like to show their clip and give them the credit for the video, the City of David Foundation, and I wanted to share this with you because it's pretty amazing. And I'll show you close-ups of the bird and the branch with the fruit on it.
אנחנו נמצאים בתוך תעלת הניקוז המרכזית של ירושלים בתקופת הבית השני, צפונית לעיר דוד, בצמוד לכותל המערבי, מתחת לקשת רובינסון. במסגרת החפירה מצאנו פה ממצא מאוד מיוחד. מדובר בחותם אבן עשוי, אבן החלמה חצי יקרה, ועליו תיאור של יונה וענף של עץ עם פירות על הענף. ומה שמפתיע היה שהענף הוא ענף עם פירות שלא מוכר מחותמות אחרים מאותה תקופה. ברגע שמצאנו את החותם עם הענף והפירות, העלינו את ההשערה שזה צמח פרי הפרסמון כפי שמופיע במקרא ובמקורות של תקופת הבית השני והתקופה הביזנטית. באנו לכאן למקום היחיד בארץ שבו מגדלים את צמח הפרסמון כפי שגידלו אותו לפני 2000 שנה. לזה קוראים גמה, זה חותם התקופה הרומית. זה סוג של החלמה, אבן חצי יקרה. היא מאוד קטנה כי זה חותם רומי, אבל היא מאוד מפתיעה ומאוד מעניינת.
מדהים. אני רואה כאן ענף של מור. תשמע, זה פשוט מדהים. מישהו לקח ענף של מור וצייר אותו על האבן. זה לא מזכיר לי אף צמח אחר שאני מכיר. זה האפרסמון שמזוהה מהאפרסמון המקראי, זה האפרסמון ששימש כראשון מסממני הקטורת של בית המקדש וכשמן המשחה של המלכים והכהנים. קומיפורה גילדנסיס, משפחת הבוסמיים, בתקופת המקרא קראו לו צורי, כתף, נטף ובוסם, היוונים קראו לו בלסמון, הרומאים קראו לו אופו בלסמון. השם אפרסמון היה השם היהודי של הצמח בתקופת המשנה. מהצמח הזה הפיקו את אחת התרופות החשובות בעולם. והיום אני מאמין שהוא יהיה תרופה חשובה. כרגע יש לי בוסם שאני עושה ממנו, ויש לי שמן אתרי שלשמחתי במקור הפרנסה העיקרי שלי, ואנחנו גם מפיקים איתו מוצר שעוזר לחולי קורונה.
תעלת הניקוז הראשית של ירושלים נבנתה מתחת לרחוב הראשי. הרחוב הראשי התחיל מבריכת השילוח בעיר דוד, ועלה עד להר הבית, עד לבית המקדש של תקופת בית שני.
This just excites me so much to find a semi-precious amethyst there with that engraving on it is so thrilling to me. But there's a couple of other finds that happened, and I want to mention these two. And this one came out in December 23rd, 2018, and this was by the Jerusalem Post staff. A 2,000-year-old ring found in the city of David, and it has this blue stone. It says 2,000-year-old ring with a solitaire gemstone uncovered in archaeological excavations in the city of David. And the photo credit goes to City of David National Park in Jerusalem, as well as the amethyst information, video, and photos. The ancient jewel was found in a mikveh that served those traveling on pilgrims' roads during the Second Temple period. Israeli archaeologists found a 2,000-year-old ring in a mikveh ritual bathhouse that used to operate on Pilgrim Road during the Second Temple period, the Israeli Antiquities Authority said on Sunday. Just like today, it would appear that in the past, rings and jewelry were removed before bathing, said archaeologists Nachshon Zenton, Moran Kajabi, Ari Levy, and Dr. Joe Uziel. This ring allows us to personally connect with an individual's personal story from 2,000 years ago. The ring, along with other finds, can shed light and expose the lives of people during the Second Temple period. Situated upon the ancient city of Jerusalem, the city of David is regarded as the place recorded in the Bible upon which King David established Jerusalem as the united capital of Israel 3,000 years ago. It is also one of Israel's most intensely excavated archaeological sites. It's incredible to think that this beautiful ring sat at the bottom of a mikveh on the ancient pilgrim road for 2,000 years until it was uncovered by archaeologists in the city of David. It is yet another piece in the puzzle that is ancient Jerusalem, said Doron Spielman, vice president of the City of David Foundation, an entity which oversees the national park. The ancient paved road runs up from the Shiloach Pool to the Temple Mount and is thought to have been the main thoroughfare taken by pilgrims to the temple. And of course, you know, they have unearthed the stairs that went from that pool clear up to the Temple Mount area. So that's the road, and it was covered up with dirt, so they excavated, and now it's underground, and you can see the actual steps. And even Jesus and his disciples would have used those same stairs. Remains at the City of David site include several water tunnels, including one thought to be built by King Hezekiah that still contains water, as well as the Siloam Shiloach Pool. Scholars suspect that the remains of Acra, a fortress built by Antiochus Epiphanes to subdue Jerusalemites who oppressed Hellenization after his attack of the city in 168 BCE, are located at the site as well. The City of David sits on a ridge that runs south from the Temple Mount in the Wadi Hillway neighborhood, which is part of the East Jerusalem suburb of Silwan. It was first settled in during the Chalcolithic period, 4,500 BCE to 3,500 BCE, and hit its most fascinating peak of inhabitants during the Iron Age, 1,200 BCE to 586 BCE. Elaborate rock-cut tombs that date from the 9th to the 7th centuries BCE have been purported to contain the remains of the highest-ranking members of a wealthy society. Scholars have argued the royal buried members were from the Kingdom of Judah. Archaeologists have claimed that the site was a walled city during the Bronze Age in 3,300 BCE to 1,200 BCE. Other significant structures at the archaeological site include the city walls and its flanking towers, houses, a columbarium, vaulted tunnels, and a large drainage system. The ring's date from 2,000 years ago would place it during the Roman period, after Pompey the Great took over Jerusalem from the Hasmonean kingdom in 63 BCE. Herod the Great was placed as the Jewish client king for Rome over Judea, and he was known for his grandiose architectural expansion of the city. So let's take a look at that ring found in the Mikveh. What I find fascinating is, why are these things being unearthed exactly 2,000 years later? The semi-precious stones, you know, right there on God's holy hill, and it's just now being unearthed after all of these years and centuries have gone by, and we're at the time and threshold of the coming of the Messiah, the royal king of Judah, who will be wearing all kinds of semi-precious and very precious gemstones, and people from all over the world will bring him gifts and give them to him, and he will be loving to have all of these beautiful stones that he actually owns. Now let's look at another exciting archaeological find, and this one happened in 2015, the same year that my book was published, which is exciting because it took 7 years to write all of that, and that was a very special year, and a lot in the world happened in that particular year. But this excavation, this was written by Elon Ben Zion, December 21st, 2015, and it's from the Times of Israel, and it says, ancient inscription points to Jewish past for early Christian site. Marble slab with 7 lines of Aramaic and Hebrew text found at biblical town on banks of the Sea of Galilee may be from Byzantine-era synagogue. There's been nothing like this before, says archaeologist. When Haifa University archaeologist Chaim Cohen called the head of the Golan Heights Regional Council, Eli Malka, earlier this month, he said he had a Hanukkah present for him. The good news: we found a new 1,600-year-old Jewish settlement on the shores of the Sea of Galilee, the archaeologist recounted in a phone interview with the Times of Israel. The bad news? They haven't been paying municipal taxes. Cohen's team recently unearthed a monumental Hebrew inscription at Kursi on the eastern side of the Sea of Galilee on the Golan Heights, providing conclusive evidence that the Roman and Byzantine-era town mentioned in the New Testament and Talmud was Jewish. Digs this month at the previously obscure site yielded a village with a large public building, possibly a synagogue, and an enormous inner harbor for large ships. More impressive, however, were 7 lines of Hebrew and Aramaic text carved into a large slab of imported Greek marble. It includes the words Marmaria, Amen, the Holy King, and the Merciful, researchers said. Excavations at the site are funded by the Avery Tzvi Foundation and headed by Cohen with the collaboration of the Israel Antiquities Authorities and the Israel Parks Authority. High school student volunteers also took part in the dig. Cohen was reluctant to reveal much about the inscription until experts had a chance to study the text more thoroughly. He did suggest, however, that Marmaria could refer either to a type of marble or, more intriguingly, the Rabbi of Mary. Haggai Miskav, a Hebrew University expert in ancient inscriptions who studied the slab on site, said the text was a standard kind of dedicatory text from a synagogue, dismissing as unlikely the possibility that it was from a Judean Christian house of worship. The script used in the text was highly reminiscent of the trumpeting place inscription found at the base of Jerusalem's Temple Mount, suggesting the preservation of highly skilled Hebrew masons over the centuries. While it likely dates to around the 4th or 5th century CE, the village probably predates it by centuries. The fact that it was carved into expensive stone rather than embedded in a mosaic floor, as was common in that period, was even more remarkable, Cohen said. There's been nothing like this before. We didn't know something like this existed, he said, calling the discovery of Kursi's Jewish history an exceptional accomplishment. The site is associated with the account in the Gospels of Jesus exorcising the Gergesene demoniac, casting the demons into a herd of pigs. Early Christians venerated the place and established a monastery there. The remains of the monastery were found in 1970 during the construction of a road and excavated in the years following. The remains of the monastery were found in 1970 during the construction of a road and excavated in the years following. So let me just show you the pictures that they posted with this archaeological find back December 21st, 2015. Well, that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I thank you for watching. I'll talk to you later. Talk to you soon.